between the Netherlands and the Republic of Estonia. It has been claimed that the Republic of Estonia has breached the fair and equitable treatment requirement by changes to the law and activities of the public authorities which have deprived AS Tallinna Vesi from the tariffs approved according to the service agreement concluded as part of the privatisation in 2001. The process remains ongoing and we have no further updates for the webinar at this stage, but will update the investors section of the company's website as and when there are any significant developments. So finally, in summary, Tallinna Vesi and its shareholders are committed to ensure that the company's returns are reasonable and in accordance with European norms. Since 2001, the real rate of return made from the privatisation is 6.2%, which is comparable with the returns permitted in the UK and the Netherlands. As stated on numerous occasions previously, the company remains open to a negotiated settlement. I will now give you an overview of the operational highlights for 2014. Our first priority is to provide our customers with high quality and reliable drinking water supply and an environmentally compliant wastewater discharge service. As mentioned before, 2014 was an excellent year in terms of operational network performance and the service given to customers. The water quality supply to our customers remains very high, with almost 100% compliance being achieved against the stipulated standards based on the 2,496 samples that we took throughout 2014. In 2014, the performance of our network has been once again very good. The full year leakage rate ended at 16.14% against the target of 17.5%. This represents best-in-class performance and is directly linked to the company's maintenance policies and also its capital investment strategies. The number of customer complaints has also improved by some 35.6% compared with last year, which again is a direct result of the improved customer service being given and the underlying performance of the water and wastewater networks. As we have already mentioned previously on our last webinars, we had problems last year with meeting the concentration limits for heavy metals, more specifically zinc and copper. In September 2014, we received a new revised wastewater permit, which now has achievable levels of zinc and copper, which are now 0. So this will be valid up until the end of 2018. I will now hand you over to Riina, who will take you through the 2014 financial results in detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Karl, and good morning to everyone. Before I start, first of all, I would like to thank everyone for the support and believing in us. We believe and promote good corporate governance and transparency, and are very privileged to receive the Best Investor Relations Award in Baltics at Baltic Market Awards ceremony. Thank you again. Now I would like to give you the overview of the financial performance of Tallinna Vesi in the fourth quarter of 2014. I will start with the financial highlights and then we'll give more detailed overview about sales and costs. The general performance of the company has been good. Sales revenues from water and wastewater services increased 1.9% or 0.23 million euros compared to the fourth quarter in 2013. Total sales revenue was 3.4% or €500,000 lower than in the comparative period in 2013. The decrease has mostly been influenced by the lower sales from stormwater services and revenues from construction. Cumulatively, there has been an increase in sales by 0.3% or €0.15 million. Gross profit for the fourth quarter has gone down by 4.2%, being €0.35 million lower than in the fourth quarter of last year. The decrease is mainly impacted by the aforementioned decrease in sales and related costs. In addition, the gross profit has been influenced by higher pollution taxes, which in its own has been impacted by two one-off factors. In the fourth quarter in 2013, we received €0.15 million compensation, which reduced our expenses in 2013 for the incidences that happened earlier in the year. In addition, there was one non-recurring incident incident in one of our pumping stations that brought along slightly elevated pollution tax expenses. Without those factors, the pollution tax expenses were stable year on year. As already mentioned, together with the third quarter results and outlined also by Karl, the issue of the heavy metals have been solved together with the new water permit that became valid starting from the third quarter 2014. Cumulatively, the gross profit is better by 0.9% or 0.26 million euros, supported by slightly higher sales and also slightly lower cost in year-on-year. The operating profit has been stable for the fourth quarter in 2014 as well as cumulatively compared to the comparative periods in 2013. Operating profit continues to be impacted by the higher legal cost derived from the ongoing tariff dispute. Net profit for the fourth quarter in 2014, as always, and also been stable compared to 2013, showing 1.5% increase as the lower interest revenues have been compensated by lower interest costs. Cumulative net profit is behind by 10% or 2 million euros, being highly affected by the impact of the change in fair value of the swap, but also by lower interest income and higher income tax costs for dividends. Eliminating the impact of the fair value change of the swap contracts and higher income tax on dividends, the net profit was at the lower level of 0.1 million euros. Now let's move on to the next slide, and I will comment on the changes of the revenues and expenses a bit closer. Let's start from the sales. As mentioned before, the total sales revenues for the fourth quarter have decreased by 3.4% or 0.47 million euros. Cumulatively, we are above the last year's sales by 0.15 million euros. Total revenues of water and wastewater services were by 1.9% higher than in 2013, amounting to 12.3 million euros. We are still operating with the frozen tariff since 2010, and the increases in revenues is solely driven by the consumption. In 2014, we can see an increase both in domestic and in commercial sector. The domestic clients' consumption has increased by 1.9% to 7.10 million cubic meters. Apartment blocks give the biggest share of our revenues in domestic sector, contributing 72% to the increase in volumes in domestic group. The cumulative increase in the consumption of domestic clients has been 2.2% or 593,000 cubic meters. This has also been highly impacted by the increase of the sales to the apartment blocks, which give 85% from the total increase, being also supported by the increase in the sales to individual houses. In the fourth quarter, the sales to commercial customers have shown an increase by 1.6%, and this increase comes from all sectors. Cumulatively, the consumption in commercial sector has been relatively stable, increasing by 0.1% or 10,000 cubic meters. Total volumes from outside areas have all in all gone down by 7.5%, and the decrease is fully related to the lower rainfall, the volumes of which were down by almost 40%. Lower stormwater revenues are compensated by the increased water and wastewater sales. The stormwater revenues in the main service area are moved in the same direction as in the surrounding municipalities, showing a decrease of 39.5% compared to the same period in 2013. Cumulatively, results follow the same trend as the sales figures for fourth quarter. There has been an increase in the sales to domestic as well as commercial sectors and also to outside areas. Sales results has been affected by lower stormwater and construction revenues. This now takes us to the overview of costs. The company's underlying performance in the fourth quarter has been good. The operating costs in the fourth quarter of 2014 have decreased compared to the fourth quarter in 2013 by 5.3% or 0.38 million euros. Cumulatively, there has been an increase by 0.12 million euros or 0.4%. Most of the direct production costs have remained relatively stable. The biggest impact comes from a higher pollution tax compared to the fourth quarter in 2013. As mentioned already earlier, the pollution tax increase of 0.27 million euros has been impacted mainly by two factors. In 2013, the company received the insurance compensation for the incidents that happened earlier in the year for 0.15 million euros. In addition, there was one non-recurring incident in one of our pumping stations which resulted in the bigger pollution tax of approximately 0.30 million euros. Apart from those two one-off factors, the pollution tax expenses have been stable year on year. The company's chemical expenses has remained relatively flat, increasing 4.7% to 0.44 million euros. Slight increase has been mostly driven by the higher consumption in the wastewater treatment process. Electricity costs have gone down due to the better raw water quality compared to the same period in 2013 and low electricity price. Low electricity volumes and prices resulted in a saving of 0.17 million euros. Other costs of goods sold have decreased by 8.6% or 0.34 million euros. It is mostly related to the decrease in the cost related to the construction services revenue, balanced by the slight increase in the depreciation costs. 14.7% or 0.21 million decrease in administration expenses is mostly affected by the decreased legal and consultant costs related to the tariff dispute, and it is pretty much related to the timing more than anything. Cumulatively, the cost of goods sold have been stable, decreasing only 0.5% or 0.11 million euros. Marketing and administrative expenses have increased cumulatively by 3.9% or 0.22 million euros, mostly, as already mentioned, in relation to the increased legal charges that are caused by the ongoing tariff dispute, but also the commencement of the international arbitration. Whilst in the fourth quarter, net financial expenses have been relatively stable year on year, the full year in 2014 is mostly affected by the non-monetary revaluation of the fair value of the swap contracts. The impact to the income statement is 1.8 million euros lower in 2014 than in 2013. Interest expenses have decreased by 4% or 0.30 million euros. If we would now move on to the cash flows. The cash position of 31st December 2014 is strong. The company's cash balance stood at 38.6 million euros, forming 18.8% of the total assets. During 12 months of 2014, cash balance has increased by 6.8 million euros. The biggest contribution to the cash flows comes from the main operations. The company's average receivables collectability rate in 2014 has been again at a very high level, being more than 99% of average. The company's cash flows from investing activities have also been positive since the beginning of 2012. In the 12 months of 2014, net cash flows from investing activities resulted in a cash inflow of 0.3 million euros. Compared to the last year's positive inflow of 3.4 million euro, there has been a decrease of 2.05 million euros. The decrease is related mainly with the fact that in 2013, Tallinna Vesi repaid its loan in the amount of 3.8 million euros, and in 2014 there has been no new additional loans issued. Loan repayment has had also its impact to the collected interests. During 12 months, the money paid for fixed assets has remained relatively stable, showing an increase of 5%. Or 0.46 million euros compared to the 12 months in 2013. The compensations received from the pipes amounted to 10.5 million euros in 2014, which is in an increase of 2.6 million euros compared to the 2013 period. The majority of the amount is related to the collections for the network extension program, the collection of which will cease in March 2015. In May 2014, the company replaced its loan from NIB with a new loan in the amount of 20 million euros. In addition, the company extended the loan contract, which would have become due in 2015. The maturity date of this loan is now postponed to the end of 2020. The cash flows from the financing activities were also impacted by the higher dividend and dividend income tax payment. I would like to thank you for your time and attention, and all your questions are really welcome now.
Thank you, Riina. We will, before we take your questions, I will read out the pre-sent questions and Riina will take them. First, in case Tallinna Vesi would win the court dispute with the competition authority and is thereby therefore able to increase the tariffs, what will happen to the tariffs after the contractual period in 2020? Riina?
Thank you for the question. I would like to emphasize that we are still in the middle of the tariff dispute, which result, outcome and timing is not known yet. We are concentrating on providing a very high quality service in the current in the main area, and the tariff forecast after 2020, it's difficult to say, and it would be a speculation. Thank you.
The second question, why isn't Tallinna Vesi buying any new utility companies to improve its financial results? Riina will take this one as well.
Thank you again, and I might just sound a little bit repetitive, but I must stress out that we are in the middle of the court case about the tariff dispute, and we are focusing in order to solve that. When and by which date we don't know. We need to keep focusing also the providing the very good service in Tallinn, in the surrounding municipalities. So currently we're focusing in order to get this solved. Thank you.
You now have the opportunity to ask questions. You can write them in the message box on the right panel. It's now on center. So you can write them there. So the first question, is there anything to comment regarding the court hearing held earlier this week? Thank you, Jonas. Karl will answer.
On the 28th of January, a preliminary court hearing was held in the Tallinn Administrative Court with regards to the tariff dispute between the company and the CA. As stated before and earlier, it was just a procedural hearing, so it was really about setting the next hearing dates and what would happen at those. So no, we've got no further information at this stage.
Thank you. Any more questions? Seems awfully quiet this time. We'll give you a few moments if you have any further questions. But as it appears, we are done. Oh, one more. Your dividend policy has been linked to inflation. Currently, prices are decreasing. Could you potentially imply decreasing DBC?
The dividends will be discussed and decided later in the spring. We still are trying to be attractive dividend payer, and we try to keep our promises to our investors and keep dividends in real terms. Whether they will be flat, increasing or decreasing, again, it's too early to say, but we will let you know as soon as it has been decided.
Do you still work to reach a compromise agreement with the competition authority? Do you think that post-elections it is more realistic to agree on legislational changes?
Okay, as we've stated continuously, we've always been open to a negotiated settlement, and that very much remains the case.
Does that answer the question? If there's any more questions, we're willing to take them. Waiting a few moments. As it appears, there are no more questions. So we would like to thank you for your participation. I will send the information after the presentation later on this day with the presentation and the webinar recording. Thank you.
Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.